Hello! So I bought Elden Ring. Yes, I know, I hated on the Soulsborne series, but I was intrigued by what I was seeing online about the game. Now I'm here, I'm liking it, mostly. I might go into what I like and dislike about Elden Ring in the future, but for now I want to talk about one thing in particular. Well, three things, actually. Praetor Rykard, the Blasphemous, the Volcano Manor faction, and a young woman named Raya. Let's begin with Volcano Manor, which is, surprisingly, situated on a volcano. You get to it in many ways, and I, of course, chose the hardest way because I'm a blind idiot. At any rate, when you arrive at Volcano Manor, you meet Lady Tanith, who runs the place for Praetor Rykard. When you talk to her, she asks if you want to join her merry men. You see, the last god ruler of the world went a bit nuts and broke the rules. Literally, they broke the rules. The Elden Ring, after which the game is named, was a rune embodying the natural laws, and the last god queen smashed it to pieces. So the gods above decided the queen needed replacing. You, the player, are one of many no-name outcasts summoned by the gods to overthrow the god queen, become Elden Lord, and re-establish order. But not everyone was fond of being told what to do. Volcano Manor became a bastion of like-minded souls who didn't want the old order to come back and were willing to fight to stop it doing so. And that's where you come in. You're being offered a job as a bounty hunter to hunt down your fellow outcasts and prevent them from fixing the world. This coincides with what we're told of Rykard. Praetor Rykard, Lord of Blasphemy, was a demigod, one of many who claimed a piece of the Elden Ring when it was broken. But unlike the other demigods who sought to grab all of the pieces and put them back together, Rykard secluded himself away, refusing to re-establish the rules of the world as they once were. This mentality drew many to him, leading to the establishment of an army and the Volcano Manor. Then Rykard did something a bit different than expected, but we'll get to that. Back with the player, you're told by Lady Tanith that if you complete enough bounties, you will become a champion and will be given an audience with the Lord of the Manor and demigod Praetor Rykard. So you take bounties, kill your fellow exiles, and like so many before you, you become a champion and are teleported to Rykard's chamber for an audience. I say chamber, it's a cave, but it's a nice looking cave. But before you get anywhere near it, you know something's up, and the game presents this information to you in no uncertain terms. Down the hall from where Lady Tanith sits is a ghost. The ghost wants you to kill that serpent Rykard and even tells you he and his fellow followers found a weapon perfect for killing the backstabbing serpent.
Here to put the demigods to the sword. Then please, kill the great serpent, the one that devoured Praetor Rykard. I left the serpent-slaying spear in the Lord's chamber, worthy tarnished. Brandish the spear and run him through. The great serpent, that unspeakable monstrosity.
Why a serpent hunter? Well, it turns out Rykard is called the Lord of Blasphemy for many reasons. Initially, he blasphemed by going against the will of the gods. Then he blasphemed by reading lots of forbidden books on forbidden sorceries. I wonder if they have the Necronomicon in this world, or the Book of Avon. Anyway, the last straw for Rykard's followers was his being eaten by a snake. Yep, he was eaten by a snake. When the other demigods came for Rykard's piece of the Elden Ring, Rykard decided he needed more power. Searching his forbidden volumes, he found a method by which he could challenge, nay, overcome all. So he found a special snake and let it eat him. Then he became one with the snake, growing immense and powerful. Then he started eating his own followers to become even more powerful. His followers, not wanting to be eaten, tried to kill the monster snake. As you can see when you're in Rykard's chambers, they didn't do a very good job of it. So the followers were killed and or eaten, and one of their number became a ghost, haunting Volcano Manor, asking people to kill Rykard for them. And Rykard, being a very clever boy, left the specifically designed to kill giant snakes serpent hunter weapon laying around for anyone to pick up. I found this all to be rather funny. In concept, the story works, sort of. Lady Tanith is working for Rykard because she believes in his goals, but at the same time is aware that others might not see the pros against the massive scaly cons. With this in mind, she doesn't tell you what Rykard is or what your fate is when meeting with him. Your fate being his lunch. The eventual goal of Rykard is to become powerful enough to eat the gods themselves. By completing the Volcano Manor bounties, you prove you are powerful and are worthy of being eaten and absorbed into the form of the serpent. This story of Subterfuge would have been great and a nice reveal for players, if not for the ghost spilling the beans straight away. This is where cognitive dissonance comes in. I decided to do the Volcano Manor bounties, but I was fully aware that the Lord of the Manor was a snake that was going to try and kill me when I met him. For the effect he had, the ghost might as well have been sitting right next to Lady Tanith and cutting in when she was lying in real time. One day our Lord will see you. She's lying. He's going to eat you. Nice one, FromSoft. But this wouldn't be the last time I'd get a heavy dose of cognitive dissonance here. Oh no. By completing the bounties, you come face to face with Rykard, Lord of Blasphemy, the god-eating serpent. The arena is visually amazing in scale, architecture and lighting. The bodies piled high speak of the carnage that took place here and of Rykard's voracious appetite. And now you, the player, must face off against this most mighty of foes, one who deems himself capable of gobbling up the gods. I imagine this was meant to be an epic encounter with spectacular combat, fit for the story behind it. And I imagine many people did, in fact, have just such an encounter. I, on the other hand, didn't.
Join together!
On my first try, I wanted to go in with my normal gear. I'm playing a shield bro, so I'm melee focused. Shield bro! Shield bro! The Serpent Hunter stank of the Yorm fight from Dark Souls 3 and I wanted to avoid it if I could. Turns out you probably can if you're patient enough. Also if you can avoid random death. And I mean random. On the second try I used the Serpent Hunter and everything went fine and dandy. There was only one time I had any kind of trouble, and that's when these things started spamming. The rest of the time I was the one spamming attacks, or the sprint key, because the all-powerful Lord of Blasphemy God-eating Serpent kept running away from me. I literally made him back into a corner. Turnaround is fair play, I suppose. All this build-up just to poke the dipstick to death unchallenged. Who designed this boss? I can see why this might have happened. Doesn't make it any less funny, just understandable. When designing the boss, the designers clearly didn't want the player getting near it, so they put lava at its base. They then introduced the Serpent Hunter, a great spear with a ranged attack, so melee players could still do something. The boss designers then made all of Rykard's attacks ranged. But there was something that wasn't taken into account. The Volcano Manor has an area that is partially submerged in lava. To get around the area and indeed fight certain bosses, it's required to walk through the lava. Whoever's job it was to design this area decided to make the lava do very little damage to allow traversing it. This carried over into the boss fight, so suddenly Rykard can be meleeed without any of his ranged attacks touching you. My fat ass couldn't be reached by anything except the floating skulls in phase 2. These apparently precede a massive move from Rykard, which I didn't see because it happened behind me. One day the designers might make the lava around Rykard harsher and make the boss fight as intended. Until then, everyone can have a laugh at the big scaly boy's expense. Not everything about Volcano Manor is an accidental laugh. I mean, a lot of it is, but there are a few gems buried in the lava. Once Rykard is dead, you can inform Lady Tanith, who then disappears. If you're not in the habit of revisiting boss rooms, that is the last you will see of her. But if you happen to pop back into Rykard's chamber, you will find this. Lady Tanith noshing on Rykard's massive head. Initially this looks full on crazy, and I wouldn't blame anyone for thinking that. Indeed, if you missed a subplot of this subplot, all you will know is what you see here. But there is in fact more to this than one woman's obsession with eating her lord's giant serpent. Lady Tanith has a daughter named Rya. You can meet the young lady earlier in the game trying to recruit new champions, but everyone will eventually find her in Volcano Manor. It turns out she is secretly a scaly. Worse, she is a scaly born of, and I quote, a hideous ritual and is not welcome in civilized society, just like real scalies. Lady Tanith adopted Rya in spite of her heritage, and because of that, Rya grew into a pleasant young woman. Nurture over nature, as it were. But the world of Elden Ring has a culture of getting rid of malformed or unnatural children as they see them. For example, omens are people born with horns, and they are either incarcerated underground for life, out of sight and out of mind, or are killed. Rya isn't an omen, but she is an unnatural birth, and would surely meet a similar fate if discovered. This is where Lady Tanith's apparent insanity comes from. Rykard wishes to subvert the current order and devour the gods. He literally wants to keep the old rules broken, meaning many of the old traditions could be removed, including the stigma and punishment of people just for the way they are born. I don't know about you, but that sounds familiar. If Rykard succeeds, Rya wouldn't be outcast, or worse, killed just because of the way she was born. That is why Lady Tanith is following Rykard. That is why she is lying to adventurers and luring them to their deaths. The lives of a few sacrifices are nothing in the grand scheme of things or the future safety of her daughter. Or so Lady Tanith probably thinks, which is why, when Rykard dies, she begins to feast on his massive corpse in an attempt to keep his plans alive. I think that might take a while, but sure, whatever. The road to hell is paved with good intentions, and one terrible act begets another. Well, this video went from funny to sad pretty quickly. Let's try and end on a different note. The tale of Rykard and the snake rings familiar with that of Aldrich, except in reverse. In Dark Souls 3, Aldrich ate people until he became so fat he bloated and became living sludge. Then he started to eat one of the gods. In Elden Ring, Rykard, a demigod, was eaten by a snake, took on a new form, then started eating people. And to really cement the comparison, Aldrich and Rykard both appear in-game as serpent-like creatures. It seems From Software have a fetish going on. Hey, I said I'd end on a different note, I didn't say it'd be a good one. The more I look at the Serpent Hunter, the more I want to make it. And the more I want to make it, the more of a headache I get trying to work out how to make it. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you found it a good laugh like I did. There's going to be another Elden Ring video soon that is going to be less fun for me, but probably more fun for everyone else. Until then, feel free to like, share, subscribe, and comment if you have something on your mind. If you want something weird and esoteric, pop on over to my Etsy store. And as of right now, I have a Patreon page set up. More details on that to follow. Links in the description for both. Once again, thank you for watching.